Hey, welcome back, everybody. Of course, you know me. My name is Dr. Keith McNally. This is the Question Guy podcast. I'm here with Jill Lublin. Yes.
Yes.
And I appreciate you being on the call today. So, this is going to be really interesting. This is going to be one of those conversations that I've gotten a really clue where we're going to go because that's okay. I do this all the time. So, hopefully, I can do it right today. However, I'm looking at some of your social media content, and as I scroll down the page, it says that you've been on five, but you just told me you've been on six different continents. One, congratulations, I'm jealous. But more importantly, among other things, you talk about the power of kindness. And I would love to start the conversation right there because we don't see enough kindness in the world. And in fact, I think we're seeing less of it as each day passes. So please, Jill, talk to me about the power of kindness.
So thank you, first of all, for having me. And the power of kindness, like it can move and change the world, don't you think? Really, like simple, easy acts of kindness. And when I wrote the book, The Profit of Kindness, this is actually my fourth book. The reality is, we talked to companies, small and large. And what was wonderful about that was that we had the opportunity to find out if kindness really worked. I mean, in quotes, I'll put that because we know it works. I know it works. You know it works. The reality is, kindness has been linked to more profit, more really feel good, right? The people you work with feel good, you feel better, better happiness, more revenues. And we actually found all the links, which I thought was good. And me being a publicity expert, I'm like, so how does that help publicity? And funny enough, kind companies get more publicity.
So let's talk about what that really means. What does it mean to be kind? And so I could give an example of just helping, the old lady cross the street. And we see that in cliche, but I'm thinking it's a bit more than just that. Yes?
It certainly is that. Let me just say, this never gets old, about helping your neighbor and helping the people on the street and letting someone in on traffic and letting someone in front of line who's in a hurry. All of that, please keep doing, because it is all these little things that add up. But how about, I call them return on kindness principles. So flexibility, you and I had to be flexible today regarding some appointments, etc. That's a return on kindness principle. And I call them rocks. So see,
Ooh, that's an acronym.
yes,
I
exactly.
got it.
Kindness rocks, see?
Oh, that's wonderful.
And return on kindness principles, rocks, are actually at the basis of a philosophy. One of them, for instance, like I said, is flexibility. Another one is patience. And entrepreneurs aren't known for being that patient, but the reality is it certainly helps. And then additionally, I love generosity. I think that's a really good one. I have 7 return on kindness principles. We don't need to go over them all right now, but I will tell you those are my top 3 that I love. And I think if you practice generosity, flexibility, and patience, wow, you're really ahead of the kindness game.
Well, then let me ask you, how does those practices really impact one, your life, and then the life of those around you? Because I'm sure if they're the pillars of your day-to-day interactions, they have to be returning investment. Yes?
Well, yeah, I mean, something as simple as if my employee makes a mistake, which she does, am I going to fire her? I mean, there's been many a times where maybe I wanted to, but truthfully, not doing that has kept a person with me for, gosh, I think we're going on 12 years now. How wonderful is that? That's consistency. Not everything's perfect, but it's consistent, which, frankly, right there uh, is a dream worth having, right? At least for me, in terms of having good people that are loyal, that are with me, that know my style, that I don't have to train again and again, right? So all of these, that's a key. Um, and then ask me again, what
So how does this impact the people around you? Because you demonstrate this, you practice this. This is the core of your being. There has to be a return on investment. The people around you have to feel that they're appreciated, valued, loved,
Yeah.
cared for, how do they return that?
A couple things. Loyalty is one, like I said. Sometimes, if something's in a crunch, they'll be the ones that'll work late or work on a Saturday or, do something that'll ensure that the work gets done. That's amazing to me. Right. Or one time I was having a cash flow crunch and my assistant said, you know what, divide your payments into two. It's okay with me. That's because I show up, for her consistently and I'm kind to her and reward things often. So when there's a moment where I might need the support, I get it. And that's awesome. You know, um, I have people at different time zones. Sometimes I have to switch time meetings and they'll switch, and sometimes to the extent where, might be inconvenient for them or family time for them, or they're working another job, whatever it is, that's a return on investment. And then as far as clients, attracting clients because they feel that from me, beautiful, right? And that's what I think is so powerful is the opportunity of continuously, let's say, having things show up that maybe wouldn't be in the picture if I didn't come from that place. And by the way, I insist that my people are like that they're wonderful to deal with, that they're easy, right? There's, I just have to tell you, I had a thing with Southwest the other day, and I'm like, what the heck? They were not, which by the way, I've never experienced. And, you bet I'm going to be on the phone to that supervisor and tell them my experience. And, I've never had that with Southwest, but it just, it colored my perception for a
Right.
moment. So what happens there? Well, might I be thinking about another airline when I'm ready to book? Will there be some ripple effects because of, the action that this employee took? Like
Right.
that, right?
Right.
So kindness pays off in dividends, in how you book things, in being chosen, in people say yes to you versus somebody else because of who you are.
So you mentioned earlier that The Profit of Kindness, the book behind you, is your
Yeah.
fourth book.
Yes.
What are the other three, and what's really the core to your message?
Ah, so the other three is guerrilla publicity, networking magic, and get noticed, get referrals. And they're all, book related. And, the core of my message is that you can create and get publicity, no matter how big or small you are, that publicity is what gets you seen and gets you paid and gets you heard, right? And I love to say it's a gift that keeps on giving because listen, you're a podcast host. Anyone on your podcast gets to be seen and heard. That's a wonderful thing. You get to be seen and heard. It's important. And so I'm really big on the opportunity of showing up, which is really about publicity, which is really about building visibility, which is really the opportunity to really be known, really be a reputation, and frankly elevated with how people see you.
Well, how can people really strategize that idea that if they're seen and heard, people want to see and hear them more? Because how do you strategize that? How do you target that as a publicity professional? How does that really work?
Well, a couple things. One is, it's really key to be consistent and persistent, right? So I recommend that people do visibility building activities every week. 30 minutes. Like imagine this. If you did 30 minutes a week of building reputation and people knowing your name, how fabulous is that? And then what happens is it creates that trust factor. It creates what I like to call the I've heard of you somewhere syndrome. That Keith McNally, that Joe Lublin, I don't know. I've heard of them somewhere. They might not remember that they heard me and you on a podcast talking, right?
Sure.
It doesn't really matter what publicity is about, is getting seen and getting heard, right? Which then leads to clients and prospects and trust and credibility and visibility and all the great things like sales that every business counts on.
So you go into small, large, medium companies and kind of give them the idea that if they're kind and nice to people, that they're going to make money. Um, how does that really? how does that work?
I do two things. For entrepreneurs, I teach the Publicity Breakthrough Boot Camp, and
Okay.
that's business owners. For companies, it's really about teaching and implementing cultures of kindness. And what that looks like, it can be, depending on what the company needs, it's looking at what's going on, what could be better, and frankly, what we've seen and proven is that kindness increases the productivity, the ROI, and the reputation. So we're gonna,
Culture, a
yeah,
culture of kindness. I love that. So what does that look like?
it looks like that your employees get to have the life they want. To obviously to the extent with some exceptions. So if they like on every Friday off, well, what can you do to create Monday through Thursday that works for them and works for the company, and give them Friday off? Especially, I have to tell you, in today's world in particular, and what we've come through, you got to give employees freedom and flexibility, a kindness principle, right? And you got to be generous with them, a kindness principle. So it keeps going round, and I think really listening to what they want is important. I think what also really is terrific is that you have volunteerism built into the company and rewarded, because then that encourages the community and encourages your employees and different parts of really making a difference, and people feel good when they make a difference.
I
That's
think
kind also.
I think they do. I think there's something internally innate to hopefully all humans, but at least the people that I know, that when they do something good, it feels good.
Absolutely. It's just, you get that hit of what is it called? Cortisol, whatever, oxytocin. That's right. And, people, you do notice and you do feel better. Like somebody said to me the other day in an interview, well, how do you know you're kind? And I'm like, you're kind. How you're feeling. When somebody's kind to you, how you're feeling, right?
Right.
Both ways.
So you also run, if my memory serves, a network of sorts that really focuses on being kind and kindness. Yes?
Yes.
What is that network?
It's called Conscious Kindness Community. And what it is the opportunity to come together once a month on Zoom, so it's convenient. And we meet for an hour. We usually have amazing guests, like the guy who did the Kindness Diaries on Netflix, and large names in transformation. We have all kinds of people. Last month for World Kindness Day, we had a man and his Down syndrome son who runs a huge sock company called John's Crazy Socks, and all the kind things they did. I've just been having a blast. And so we have short speakers and then two breakouts so that people can actually experience kindness with each other. And it's completely free.
I love it. I love it. I think I actually was involved in one of your networking events, and so I've met some people. And what I
Oh,
want to do is kind of share those to the show notes, and so that more people can experience that networking opportunity with you and your amazing community.
oh,
With the
thank
amount, absolutely. So with the amount of time that we have left, I would love for you to kind of impart some to do things. Maybe something today that somebody could do to show kindness in a very unique and special way, something that they've not thought of before. Because again, we could easily say, how are you doing? Or helping somebody across the street, or helping a neighbor paint a fence. But there are more unique and special ways to show that somebody is appreciated. Can you share some of that insight?
Well, first of all, I want to say everything you do, great. Kudos, gold stars, pat yourself on the back, because it all matters and it all counts. So one of the things I'm big on is practice a conscious act of kindness every single day. So that means you got to really, it's not a lot of work. I mean, this is easy stuff. It could be any of the things we mentioned. One of my favorite things to do that's a little bit more unique is on Monday. If you look at my calendar, it says write 2 handwritten thank you notes, or actually 2 handwritten notes. Doesn't matter if it's a thank you or just a hello, how are you? Um, because you know what? People don't get mail anymore,
No,
hardly.
we
And
don't.
I feel, I know how I feel when I've been opening up things and it's like, oh, look at that. I mean, it's just fun, to actually receive a thank you or something that is an acknowledgement. So that I think has made a big difference. And I would recommend the opportunity of doing something as simple as that. And I always I just think it's fun paying for somebody behind me and then leaving. Like they don't even know who did it. That's even more fun.
Well, I do love the act of actually writing something down, and because that's the extra effort. It's not like you're typing an email or something technology driven. You actually took the time to pick up a pen, pick up a piece of paper, and share your thoughts. And I think that is the best way to end this conversation, to impart that value in our audience. Jill, thank you so much for this conversation. For those of you who have been watching and listening, this has been another edition of the Question Guy podcast, and I'll see you next time. Take care.